Today I want to share with you a few of my favorite tools for dealing with back pain, which is something that I've had to deal with for over 30 years. So the first thing I want to say is that when our back hurts, when any part of our body hurts, our tendency is to deal with that part of the body. So if my thigh is tight, I'm going to deal with my thigh. I want to massage it out and pound it or roll on it or stretch it. If it's my back, I'm going to do that. But very often the part that's hurting is the victim and not the cause. So it's really important, rather than just going and grabbing something willy-nilly and saying, well, if my back is hurting, I better just pound on my back, is figuring out what parts of our body are actually causing the problem. There's a couple of ways in which parts of our body can cause the problem. So one is a muscle could be weak or just turned off. So you might have to work with a physical trainer or a physical therapist to figure out what's not firing. So when something's not firing, we'll overcompensate. And so if my hamstrings aren't working right, they just aren't firing when they should be, I have to find other parts of my body, other muscles, to help me do the things that my hamstrings would do. And then they can get, those other parts can get fatigued. Another way that we can compromise ourselves is if we have an imbalance, right to left, front to back, side to side. And so one part of the body is constantly being used more than the other. If you do any sort of, asymmetrical activity or sport, like playing the violin is very different from playing the piano. Playing the piano, both hands are doing the same thing more or less. The violin, one arm's up here, shoulder high, the other is going back and forth. That can lead to asymmetry. Similarly with things like tennis or frisbee or basketball or anything where you tend to be one-handed more than the other. So you're going to look for asymmetries in that way. So with that caveat, you want to know where you're working. Here are some of the things that I have found most helpful. So we'll start with just pressure with foam rollers. So this is a fairly inexpensive one, very, very light, softer. This, I actually like it better for a bunch of reasons. One of which is it's hollow, so when I travel with it, it actually takes up less space than this because I can stuff things in it. It also has different edges, so I can get different amounts of pressure on parts of my body. So I rarely use this on my back itself. When my back is hurting, I very often have to work my thighs because the hip adductors and the thighs get very, very tight and it pulls things in, and then in order to stand up straight, I have to hyperextend my back. So you've seen videos on how to do this. Basically, the goal is to put in just enough pressure that it feels spicy, but not so much that your muscles tense up in rebellion. You're not trying to beat up your muscles, you're trying to talk to them, just to get them to release a little bit. So you can stay in one area and feel the spiciness and really focus your breath and your attention on letting it release, letting it relax. And you'll find after a few seconds you can go deeper. You can also kind of go back and forth to sort of warm the muscle up beforehand. And generally whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. So another thing that I found is that pressure with vibration actually can intensify the process. So this is a little ball that I got off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. It'll be an affiliate link, so if you buy from me, Amazon will throw a few bucks to this channel to help us out. So it's got 4 speeds. I don't know if you can hear the difference. Let's put it on the highest speed, and you put it on the ground, it's going to want to go away. Move it so that you don't accidentally turn it off with your back or your side. And so I like this one on the back directly, just to kind of, ooh, can you hear that? And I'm not putting all my weight on it. It's not the same as this, but I can titrate it. So okay, that's a little too much, I back off. Now I breathe and I take responsibility for my muscles' reaction to it. And then I can go a little deeper. I'm close to the spine here, especially down here. I don't want to be doing the kidneys. And I can move it up. It's pretty small, so it can also go in the shoulder blades. and maybe 2 minutes in a spot or until it starts to release and relax. Now another form of vibration is like a massage gun. This is a very old model. This is what, 30 years old maybe, and it needs a little reminder of what it is. And it's good for broad areas and feels pretty good. You want to make sure if you're doing it yourself or if you have somebody else doing it, you avoid the bones, because you can see what happens when it hits a bone. It's not fun. It bounces. So you want to stick to the fleshy parts. And the problem with it is it's not very specific. It covers a pretty broad general area. So that's why in the past few years, something like this has become really, really popular, and trainers and athletes are using it, and I have found this one tremendous. It's a trigger point, I guess, massage percussion, people call them massage guns, and what this has is a single point that can really go deep and create a lot of change in the muscle very, very quickly. So again, this also has 4 speeds. I'm going to keep this one on the lightest speed. And so if I'm going for like that area here, this is, for many of us, a very spicy area, just to the side, just above the hip bone and medial, so towards the center of the spine. And you can put as little or as much pressure as you want and kind of just hang out there. And again, you'll find that with time and with practice and by not overdoing it, your body will learn to trust you and let you in. That it will discover, your body's discovering that this kind of pressure is not bad for it, it's good for it. And so if your muscles feel very flinchy against the world, this is a way to sort of reintroduce them to pressure, to some heat. And that's that. And off. So I have some other things here. So one, if you're traveling and you don't want to take something big, a lacrosse ball can be excellent. So one of the areas that really affects the back is the feet. So running. So I'm going to share a few other things. This is a lacrosse ball. It was like $3 at a sporting goods store. You can use it in a few different ways. One is you can just manually rub it against the soles of your feet. Very often if our back hurts, there's issues with the feet. If you want more pressure, of course, you can stand up on it, and however much pressure you put on one foot, that's how much less is on the other one. And you can kind of feel areas, especially down in here in the arch, there's a lot of tension. The heel, you can go back and forth, you can feel sort of gristle, and this can help break that up. Another way is directly on the back, the same way as I did with the vibrating ball. And it's just the same thing, it's just not vibrating, but the lacrosse ball being smaller, you can get more precise. Ooh, there's a spicy spot. Sort of stay there and breathe. Notice what I'm clenching, right? If I'm trying to not feel pain and I'm clenching my face or my arms. So concentrate on relaxing, on just sort of sinking into gravity. And the third way to use this, if you can't lie down, is just against a wall. So you can just put it here and just roll up and down, find spots, and sort of lean into it like a bear scratching her back against a tree. This is another foam roller, but it's very different. It's bendy, unlike the other one. And this is actually not for compression. This is from Sue Hitzman's melt method. And I really like this to start the day, or after I have been in a compromised position for a while. If I've been sitting or anytime I'm feeling tight, what this does, I'll give you the sort of the basic, is if I'm lying down, I can feel a big curve in my lower back. And that means my pelvis is tilted, my back is tilted, and when I'm standing up like that or sitting in a chair, my neck is coming forward to compensate. So what this does, this allows me to put pressure directly on the spine, which we almost never do. And I can just sort of lay here, I can go back and forth, I can do some deep belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing up into the chest, expanding. And there's lots of little things you can do here. I can wrap my shoulder blades around it. If you go to the Melt Method website, they've got all sorts of programs and courses. If you buy the roller or other tools, they have DVDs and instruction manuals. They're just giving you a sense that in going back and forth like this kind of sort of resets, recalibrates my inner GPS. And it's actually allowing my vertebrae to come into better alignment. So if I roll out of that, that was just about a minute and a half, I can already feel that my belly button is closer to the ground, that there's much less of an arc. There's less of an arc in my back than there was before. This is a PSO-Rite, and it's PSO-Rite because it was developed to work the psoas muscle, which is a muscle that attaches from the leg up into to the spine here. And they're big muscles. They're very, very deep, so they're hard to get to. It's hard to be massaged there. But this was designed to work that muscle. You can also work it on the back, between your shoulder blades, lower back. But it's meant to release the front. And very often when we have a tight back, it's because we have a tight front. So my hips aren't perfectly this size, so instead of trying to get them both, I'm just going to do one at a time and just sort of feel in. And again, this comes with instructions, and so you can watch videos. Sort of feel into, ooh, there's some deep spiciness there. I'm just going to hang out. While I'm here, I'm going to pay attention to the rest of my posture. I'm not going to like collapse and do all the things that caused me problems in the first place. I'm going to try to extend. Keep breathing. And after a couple minutes here, go to the other side. Then you can go back and forth and see if you can get a little bit deeper each time. The final thing that I do a lot for my back is I stretch my calves. And everything's connected, right? So what I'll do is take this, I'll put a link, I don't know what it's called. Oh, here it is, it says Pro Stretch. So you can get it for 1 foot or 2 feet. If I'm going to travel with it, I take it with me to Frisbee games. I like the smaller one. It takes twice as long because I got to do 1 foot after the other. And it also gives me the ability to, if 1 foot is not going as high or higher, then I can treat each foot as an individual. So just sort of standing there against a wall for stability and sort of work into the stretch. Again, spicy. I like to go 45 seconds on, 15 seconds off. And make sure you do both of them. You don't want to end up uneven. And again, what you use will depend on what your limitations are, what your imbalances are, what your weaknesses are. And whatever you use should feel good. It should feel, it can be a little bit painful while it's happening, but it should basically not feel like it's doing any damage. And when you're done, you should feel lighter, fuller, more present in your body. So don't do this like mindlessly while you're watching TV or listening to a podcast. Do this very mindfully, because this is really a practice of getting back in touch with your body, as opposed to a practice of just beating it into alignment or submission. So I hope you found this valuable. Again, if you did, you can hit a like, subscribe to this channel for many more things like this. I'm also going to be talking in a future video pretty soon about active ways of improving and avoiding pain and getting out of pain. those are going to be much more important in the long run. This stuff is all remediation, it's all to make you feel a little bit better, but none of this really solves the problem. Though this does a little bit. If you do this a lot, stretching can actually change the musculature and be useful. The melt method can help you if you use it a lot over time to get into a better position. But really we want to be active in what we're doing. We want to use our muscles, use our body to make it stronger, to make it better aligned. Thanks for watching. Howard Jacobson from Sick to Fit. Have a great day.